The restaurant glowed with the soft buzz of late-evening chatter. The sound of cutlery blending with faint jazz. Near the corner table sat Nathan Cross, CEO of a major firm, known for his ruthless efficiency and colder heart. His tie loosened slightly. As he waved for the check without even looking up, the waitress approached her smile, tired but polite. She couldn't have been more than 25. Her name tag read Ella. She handed him the bill, and he slid a $100 note across the table. With practiced arrogance, "Keep the change," he said dismissively. She hesitated. "Sir, the bill was only 28, he didn't look up." "That's fine. It's pocket change." His tone wasn't generous. It was condescending, the kind of kindness meant to make someone feel small. She bit back the words rising in her throat and smiled instead. "Thank you, sir." He stood grabbing his coat without a glance at her, and left, leaving behind a tip that didn't feel like gratitude, but pity. She watched him go, shaking her head softly, and whispered more to herself than anyone. Some people mistake money for class. The next morning, Nathan walked into a tall glass building. His nerves tight. His company had recently collapsed after a scandal, and he was interviewing for a new executive position. A strange twist of fate for a man who once sat on top of it all. He straightened his tie, forcing confidence as the receptionist led him to the meeting room. He rehearsed his pitch in his head, determined to prove he still belonged among the powerful. When the door opened, he froze. Behind the polished table sat a panel of interviewers, and at the center seat was Ella, dressed in a sleek navy suit, her expression calm and professional. The same woman he had once dismissed without a glance, now looking straight at him with quiet power. "Good morning, Mr. Cross," she said smoothly. "Shall we begin?" For a moment, Nathan thought his mind was playing tricks on him, but no, it was her, the same waitress from last night now, sitting in the interviewer's chair, poised and confident, her hair neatly tied, her presence commanding. Without even trying, he blinked, struggling to form words. "Miss Ella," she finished for him with a polite smile. "Yes, though today it's Miss Ella Carter, Director of Operations." The room fell quiet as the other panel members looked between them, slightly amused. Ella leaned forward, her tone calm. "Shall we start, Mr. Cross?" He cleared his throat, forcing a smile. "Of course," she nodded, continuing smoothly. "You were previously the CEO of Crosstech, correct?" He hesitated. "Yes, until the merger." Her gaze didn't waver. "I read about the merger." She said it didn't go well. He sighed. "No, it didn't. We expanded too fast." She nodded thoughtfully. "Sometimes expansion without empathy leads to collapse, wouldn't you agree?" Her words hit harder than they should have, echoing last night's arrogance. The irony burned. He managed to nod. "Yes, you're right." She gave a small smile. "I'm glad you think so, because the position we're hiring for requires exactly that empathy and awareness. Two things money can't buy." He swallowed hard, catching the quiet meaning in her tone. The other interviewers began asking questions about management strategies, but Nathan's mind drifted. He couldn't focus. The image of her holding that check replayed in his head. Every careless word now felt heavier by the minute when it was her turn. Again she asked one final question. "Tell me, Mr. Cross, why should we believe you can allayed with respect when you didn't even show it to someone serving your table?" The room went still. He stared at her, unable to hide the shame rising in his face. She didn't sound cruel, just honest. He took a slow breath and said quietly, "Because I learned the difference between treating people well for appearance and treating them well because it's right." She studied him for a moment, her eyes softening slightly. Then she nodded. "That's a start." The rest of the interview continued with polite professionalism, but Nathan could feel the shift in the air. The man who once controlled every room now sat humbled. Every question she asked felt like a mirror, forcing him to face the man he had become. He didn't try to charm his way out. He didn't defend his past. Instead, he answered with quiet honesty and a tone that surprised even himself. When the interview ended, Ella gathered her notes. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Cross. We'll be in touch." He stood awkwardly unsure what to say, then finally asked, "May I just say something?" She looked up. "Waiting last night at the restaurant, I was tired, frustrated and entitled. I treated you like someone invisible." and you had every right to ignore me today. But you didn't. You gave me respect. I didn't deserve. She watched him closely. Her expression unreadable. People rarely notice the ones serving them. Mr. Cross, she said softly, but that's when their character shows. He nodded. I see that now. She smiled faintly. Maybe humility suits you. Better than pride, he gave a quiet laugh. Maybe it took losing everything to find it again. She looked at him thoughtfully and said, I'll remember that. The next few days dragged on. Nathan replayed the interview in his head 1,000 times. He didn't expect a call, but part of him hoped for one. Not for the job, but for a chance to prove he wasn't the same man. Then on the third morning, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Good morning, Mr. Cross. This is Ella Carter from Aurelia Enterprises. I wanted to let you know you've been shortlisted for the final round. He froze. Really, she continued. Yes, we believe in giving people chances to rebuild, but there's one condition this time. You'll work directly under me as part of my team, if you still want it. He smiled softly. I'd be honored. A month later, Nathan walked into the same glass building again, but this time not as a desperate applicant. He was now part of Ella's team. The company that once felt intimidating now felt like a second chance. Every morning he arrived early, greeting the staff, learning their names, asking about their work, something he'd never bothered to do before. His arrogance had faded, replaced by a quiet determination to earn the respect he had once demanded. Ella watched the change happen. Gradually she saw how he stayed late to help younger employees, how he admitted mistakes, how he listened before speaking. One afternoon during a meeting, an intern hesitated to share an idea. Nathan smiled and said, Go ahead, every idea matters here. Ella caught the moment, silently proud. The man who once looked down on a waitress now lifted others without needing to be noticed. Later that evening, after everyone left, she found him in the conference room typing reports. She said softly, You've changed more than I expected. He smiled. You gave me the space to... He looked up, meeting her gaze. You could have humiliated me that day in front of everyone, but you didn't, she replied. I didn't need to. You were already teaching yourself. He nodded. Maybe, but you reminded me what leadership really means. The next morning she invited him for coffee at the same cafe where they had first met. When the bill came, he reached for his wallet and said, Keep the change. She looked up, raising an eyebrow. He laughed. No arrogance this time, just gratitude. She smiled, shaking her head. You finally learned how to mean it. He nodded quietly. Maybe that's because the waitress I once insulted taught me more about respect than any business mentor ever could. They walked out together into the sunlight, the air warm, the past behind them, both different yet connected by a moment neither could forget. And as they crossed the street, he said softly, Thank you for hiring me. She smiled. You hired yourself the moment you chose humility. If this story made you smile, share it with someone who needs a reminder that accidents can turn into beautiful beginnings.